Thank you, Chairman. And I want to thank our witnesses for joining us today to talk about some of the ways that we can compete against China. And Dr. Doshi, good to see you again. Mr. Miller, I know I read your testimony and I agree with you about not taking our current U.S. technology edge over China and other competitors for granted. We all saw how China shocked the world and global markets when it unveiled DeepSeek as a competitor to many of our domestic AI companies. So can you elaborate on what policies should the U.S. implement and or expand on to better compete against China? And why do you believe DeepSeek has found success competing against our more established AI companies?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. Well, in terms of the policies that we should be pursuing, as I mentioned to your colleague, just a moment ago, ITI released a paper just today with 10 different recommendations to promote economic security and innovation, including on a number of different areas, and many of those, relate specifically to competition in emerging technologies and promoting competition in emerging technologies such as AI. And in the economic security context, what we really want to do is calibrate our policies so that we are, whether it's investment restrictions or export controls, targeting national security risks, but not doing anything to undermine the U.S. ability to compete. I mean, we have the leading innovation companies in the world, and that is a source of strength not only for the economy, but for economic security.
I'll be reintroducing the legislation that I co-led with Congresswoman Beatty on the other side of the aisle. This is a bipartisan bill, the Strengthening Exports Against China Act. This is to give the Exim Bank the tools to better support exports of American emerging technologies like AI, 5G, and advanced semiconductors. So do you believe this type of legislation will be helpful to implement or complement our competition against China?
Yes. I mean, obviously exports are a key part of of that U.S. economic strength in technology. So we want to really promote all tools that we can to really help facilitate companies of all sizes in making those exports abroad.
Thank you. Since 2015, the Chinese Communist Party has been the largest creditor to low-income countries. And according to the World Bank's figures, the total external government debt of low and middle income countries increased from 1.7 trillion in 2011 to 3.5 trillion in 2021. This is a large part of that is a huge increase that can be directly attributed to the CCP's irresponsible and opaque lending programs like the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. I want to ask this question to Mr. Mulaisen. Right there, okay. In your testimony, you mentioned that since China joined the G20 Common Framework for Debt Restructuring in 2020, the speed of debt workouts had picked up somewhat. So why our debt workouts have not picked up at full speed? Can you start that?
It would be ideal if China would be part of the Paris Club. That has long experience and procedures for how to restructure debt. The common framework is kind of I would say, a follow-up attempt to bring China into some process, but it's not as elaborate as the Paris Club. China is finding its way how to contribute to it. It is very reluctant for deep discounts, which makes it difficult to get countries to a sustainable debt level. So there's a lot of progress still needed. That improvement is noteworthy. It's been for a few countries, but it needs to be sustained, and it needs to be accompanied by deeper willingness to do debt restructuring.
So can you tell us what are some of the hurdles, the biggest hurdles, to ensure that the CCP agrees to collective debt restructuring? And if you can tell us how debtor countries are affected when the CCP delays debt restructuring through the bilateral actions?
My understanding is that Chinese officials that work for various state banks and other entities don't want to take a loss, a nominal loss on their loans. They're totally reluctant to do that, so they're trying to do all sorts of other things that are not as beneficial for the debtor countries to restructure their debt. It is really an internal Chinese issue that needs to be overcome.
Thank you. My time's up. I yield
Gentlelady's
back.
time has expired.